The thrilling honk of the flying wild geese out of the November sky tells me that the hollow forest and the closing bays of the vast desolate north are empty now. The wild geese pass, and I hear behind them the clang of the Arctic gates, the boom of the vault, then the long frozen silence.
Those words were penned by Dallas Lure Sharp, who walked the meadows and marshes of South Jersey over 100 years ago. It was a slower world then, when a boy with a pocket knife, a naturalist heart, and a poet's eye could wander nature's byways till chores called him back to the farm. That boy grew up to become one of America's greatest nature writers. His words ring with a deep love of the natural world. In this video, we would like to offer just a sampling of Sharp's words, accompanied by photos and footage taken from that same land he so loved.
We have had a series of long, heavy rains, and the water is standing over the swampy meadow. It is a dreary stretch, this wet, sedgy land in the cold twilight. The meadow is flat and wet, naked and all unsheltered, and a November night is falling. I have come out to the bend to watch the muskrats building, for that small mound up the ditch is not an old haycock, but a half-finished muskrat house. The wind bites through my heavy coat and sends me back, but not until I have seen 1, 2, 3 little figures scaling the walls of the house with loads of mud and reed mortar. When the house is done, then the rains may descend and the floods come, but it will not fall. It is built upon a tussock, and a tussock, you will know who have ever grubbed at one, has hold on the bottom of creation. The winter may descend and the boys and the foxes come, but not before the walls are frozen. The house has no corners, the mud walls are thick, so thick and round that the shrieking wind sweeps past unheard and all unheeded. The cold creeps over and over the thatch, then crawls back and stiffens on the meadow.
Did you notice the music in those words? Sharp's words seem to flow as naturally as the wind in the trees, the chirping of the birds, and the cry of the passing geese. Dallas Sharp was born and raised in rural Cumberland County, graduated from Brown University, became a minister, a librarian, and for over 25 years an English professor at Boston University. He authored over a dozen books and scores of articles for magazines and newspapers, and was widely popular and became one of the leading conservationists of his day.
Here in my own small woods and marshes, there is much getting ready, much comforting assurance that nature is quite equal to herself, that winter is not approaching unawares. There will be great lack, no doubt, before there is plenty again. There will be suffering and death. But what with the migrating, the strange deep sleeping, the building and harvesting, there will also be much comfortable, much joyous and sociable living.
Sharp wrote about his travels throughout the country, but he had a special affinity for his boyhood home in New Jersey, and the simple things that surrounded him, like muskrats and vegetable gardens, birds and trees. Simple things, but oh, the depth of his observations. J.P. Hand is a folk artist, historian, and waterfowl guide who has roamed the salt marshes and woods of South Jersey for over 4 decades.
I wish I had known Dallas Lure Sharp. I sense in him a kindred spirit who is awed by the beauty and mysteries of the salt meadows, ponds, and woods of South Jersey. Sharp left for New England, but he carried Jersey with him in his mind, and fortunately for us, put those thoughts and memories to paper. While the world changes around us, Dallas Lure Sharp's words are timeless. His woods and meadows are like the woods and meadows of my youth, and of those I roam now over 4 decades later.
There is no sign of life. A stranger would find it hard to believe that my whole drove of 46 groundhogs are gently snoring at the bottoms of these old uninteresting holes. Yet here they are, and quite out of danger, sleeping the sleep of the furry, the fat, and the forgetful. The winter spreads far and fast, and woodchuck, in order to keep ahead of danger, would need wings, but he wasn't given any. Must he perish then? Winter spreads far, but it doesn't go deep down, only about 4 feet. So he goes through the winter down into a mild and even temperature, beyond the bounds of time and space, into the mysterious realm of sleep, of suspended life, to the very gates of death. That he will come up alive with the spring out of this dark way is very strange. For he went meagerly prepared. The muskrat built him a house. The beaver built a dam with an abundance of tender bark at hand. But the woodchuck simply digged him a hole, a grave, then ate until no particle more of fat could be got into his baggy hide, and then crawled into his tomb, gave up the ghost, and waited the resurrection of spring. Here on the farm, the signs of coming winter are not ominous signs. Winter is welcome. It becomes a physical and spiritual need. The blood reddens at the promise of it. The soul turns comfortably in and finds itself, and the digging of the potatoes commences. The piling up on the sunny side of the barn of the big golden squashes. A single golden squash holds over almost enough of the summer to keep a long winter away from the farm, and 6 of them in the attic, filling the rafter room with sunshine, never allow the hoary old monarch to show more than his face at the skylight. Pie is not the only thing one brings in with his winter squashes. He stores ripe September in their wrinkled rinds that are rigid and bossy with the summer's gold. It is like filling one's own system with antitoxin. One is immune to winter after this. One works himself into a glow with all this digging and picking and piling, and along with the after-harvest glow comes stealing over him the after-harvest peace. To nature, man is just as precious as a woodchuck or a sparrow, but not more. In all of his physical life, man is as much a part of nature and is subject to her laws as the fields and the trees and the birds. Only in a farm does a man live in a normal, natural environment. Only here can he find a cure for winter.
When Dallas Lore Sharp moved north, he taught in Boston, but he settled on a small farm in Hingham, Massachusetts, where he and his wife raised 4 sons. It was an area much like his beloved South Jersey, surrounded by salt marsh with woods and streams for his boys to explore. With some of the money he made from his books, Sharp bought a woodlot of 8 acres, and before he died, he left it to the town in perpetuity as a nature preserve and as a home for the trees and birds and animals who lived there.
A man lives quite without roots in a city. He knows little of any kind but bad weather. There he cannot touch the earth and feed upon life's first sources. A city is a sore on the face of nature. There is no cure in the city. The farm is never so much of a home as in the winter when the stock and the crops are housed, when earth and sky conspire to drive a man indoors and to keep him in, where he needs to stay and be quiet. The songs of home are all of country homes. Winter is passing on its swiftest days. So swift indeed are the days that morning and evening meet, bound up like a sheaf by the circle of the chores. For there is never an end to chores, never a time when they are all done, never a day when the round of them is not to be done again. And herein lies more of their virtue as a winter cure. We may hire our praying out and our thinking done for us, and still live, but not our chores. They are to the life of the spirit what breathing and eating and sleeping are to the life of the body. Not to feed your own horse is to miss the finest joy of having a horse. Not to pick up the eggs yourself, nor hoe your own garden is to miss out on nature's promise. The north wind may blow, but the muskrats are building, and it is by no means a cheerless prospect, this wood and meadow world of mine in the gray November light. There will be no less life next April because of this winter. As I watch the changing seasons across the changeless years, I seem to find a scheme, a plan, a purpose, and there are weeds and winters in it, and it seems divine.
After I fell in love with Dallas Lure Sharp's words and vision, I traveled to Haley'sville with J.P. Hand and his cousin John Lure, who showed me Dallas Sharp's simple grave. These lines of poetry from one of Sharp's books echoed through my brain. The rain always wakens me, and in my grave I think, if I lie sleeping under a roof of forest leaves, I shall wake and listen when it rains.